For the longest time, I had what you could genuinely call a Coca Cola addiction. I have spent holidays where supermarkets were scarce, where I would go out walking an hour just to get my hands on some. Nowadays, not only do I not long for it, I don't even like it anymore. So how did that happen? One of the main goals of WILDFIT is getting food freedom. But what does that actually mean? The way I find it easiest to understand is by the story that Eric tells about him and a potential client who approached him and said, "I love your program, I love WILDFIT, I would love to do it, but I just can't." Eric goes like, "Okay, what's the problem?" He says, "Yeah, I love the program, but I value my freedom too much. I want a freedom in my eating." So Eric asks, "Okay, what does freedom mean to you?" And he responds with, "Freedom is the ability to eat whatever you want, whenever you want, as much as you want, any way you want it." Eric says that's a fantastic definition. But can you not eat what you don't want to eat? The person looked at him a bit confused. What do you mean? Eric says, "Well, we just had lunch, and I happen to know you like pizza. So if somebody now walks in and says, 'I've brought pizza, would you eat it?' He goes, 'Yeah, of course I would eat it. It's pizza, but we just had lunch. You're full.' 'Oh yeah, Eric, but it's pizza.' So in other words, you have no freedom when it comes to pizza." And that's when the penny dropped. Now that to me makes it really clear. Full food freedom is the freedom to eat whatever you want to eat and the freedom to not eat what you don't want to eat. Now a whole lot of advice around food, a whole lot of diets are all about restriction. You have to eat this, you cannot eat that. This is all very much reliant on willpower, and I've talked about this before. There's some people that are now claiming that willpower doesn't work. Willpower works in the right circumstances. Willpower works for short-term decision making. Willpower does not work in the long term. So then the question becomes, how do you change something for the long term? The trick here, as it turns out, is actually changing what you want to eat, which sounds really impossible at first. But it turns out that that's actually really doable. It all starts with awareness. When you start to pay attention to your decision making around food, you will find that there's this inner voice, this food devil, that is always telling you what to do, always trying to convince you to consume certain things. Now in my case, as I said earlier, Coca Cola was often on that list. "Oh come on, just have a glass, you know you want it." And so you give in for a while and then you suddenly decide, for whatever reason, that you want to give up consuming it. Once you start restricting yourself, this voice starts to become louder. It starts trying to sell you more and more on actually consuming this item. It almost starts to sound like a drug dealer. "Hey man, come on, let's try one glass. First one's free. Come on, you can always stop after that." If you keep it up long enough, it'll become whinier and whinier. At some point, it even starts to sound a little bit like a lot of teenagers sound. "But I just want to have one. Just give me one. All the other kids are doing it." You're using willpower to just talk back to it and say, "Not this time. We're trying this diet and no, I don't want to have it right now." And for a while that works. Until you were tired, you had a bad day, you had a good day, whatever reason comes up, and then you decide, "I'll just give in once." However, a curious thing happens if you deny the food devil what it wants for a while. You see, every time you deny it, the food devil gets a little bit less sure of itself. So at first it starts out as a salesman and ends up whining, having more and more trouble to convince you and itself. And so you may find that just by getting conscious of this conversation happening in your mind, just by using that willpower at the right moment, there may come a day where the food devil actually switches sides. Suddenly, the particular item it was interested in before just doesn't register anymore. You can find yourself looking at it, and the food devil may say something like, "Remember when we used to like that?" And that's it. You just move on with your day. I would not have believed that this could happen. For things like Coca Cola, I had such an appetite, such a craving for it, such a dependency on it, that I did not think that that could ever happen. I knew I wanted to stop. I thought maybe I just do my best and it'll be torture for the rest of my life. A bit of a dramatization, but still. I did not think this could happen. But I have now experienced this for several different food items, although food in this case is kind of questionable. My list of items that I just no longer consider consumable has grown to include things like bread, which I used to love, milk, potatoes, and of course, Coca Cola. These items just do not register as foods anymore, meaning that it does not cost me any effort not to have them. I mean, it doesn't take you any effort to not eat rocks, I would hope. If you teach your brain to not consider something food anymore, it doesn't take any effort to not have it. Now, this is by far the most profound thing that I've learned this year, and something that has changed my relationship with food forever. So that was what I wanted to share today. Let me know in the comments below if there are any foods you struggle to release from your diet. Leave a like if you liked it and subscribe for more health advice. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.